Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. Happy Thursday and welcome. Gonna hit that go live button over on Instagram. All right. I think we're live in all the places.
Wonderful.
Yay, Tina. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Same. I feel like a kid on Christmas morning, to be honest.
I know. Well, because you love what you do and you're at a place in your career. At least this is what I gather, that you love to give back because you love this field and your career. So before we jump in, we have a really great show lined up for you guys today. Really excited about it. So I just want to say hello to everybody who's joining and welcome to Live with Lesli. And so here's the deal. If clients tend to skip those follow-ups, cancel last minute, or just kind of stall out on their progress, I really think you're going to get a ton of value from our conversation today, because I am so happy to be joined by Tina Musselman, and she is from the Pointe, and we're going to be diving into advanced counseling skills that go way beyond, good handouts, SMART goals, and all of that good stuff, which is all great, right? Let's be honest, we all love our SMART goals.
We all start there.
It's a great place to start, and I highly recommend it. Today, though, you're going to learn how to quickly build trust, use language and silence effectively, and help clients actually follow through. So stay with us. You are in the right place because you're going to walk away with strategies that I think you're going to use in your next session. So with that little bit of a background, I do want to welcome Tina Musselman. And Tina, before we dig into the content for today, I didn't read your amazing bio, but could you just tell us a little bit about your background? And, one thing I do want to point out to everybody is Tina is dually credentialed, which is amazing. So she really is an expert in this area of counseling. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. First of all, thank you for having me on. And yes, I'm at a place in my career where I do want to give back because I do love what we do. And I know we do amazing work, right? And by me helping you help clients serves my mission, right? And helps our profession. And I get disheartened when dietitians, health coaches, and other health professionals are so frustrated in chat rooms, seeing influencers or seeing misinformation or feeling like we're not going to be reimbursed, that I'm just like, I really have to lift up this profession because I know we do good work. It's what gets me out of bed every morning. So I love to see fellow professionals grow and be able to implement and, do our best for our clients and lift up our communities and our people as well. So you are correct. I am a dually licensed dietitian. I'm also a licensed counselor who my specialty when I was going through school was marriage and family therapy. So really looking at relationships, which do come into play when we talk about health. I'm not the greatest counselor. I'm a good counselor, but I stopped doing counseling a couple of years ago because I'm a nutrition professional at heart. So, but I always weave it into what I do. And career-wise, I took a very atypical path. I never worked traditional inpatient that they told us we had to do. I was one of the first dietitians at Lifetime Fitness in the country. And then from there, I went on to grow and manage several bariatric surgical programs in the Chicago area, working as everything from being a dietitian to I worked marketing, insurance, patients. And before opening up my private practice for the fourth time, 4 years ago, I was a regional director of weight loss surgery for a large hospital system here in Illinois. So it's been quite a journey. And I love to say, I'm not done yet. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I feel like the possibilities are infinite. So it's very exciting.
The world is your oyster.
You got it.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've got that dual background. What were you a dietitian first then?
And I was a dietitian first.
Okay. And what was what motivated you to go back? And that's not a small thing. Going back, of course, getting a master's degree is one thing, but you had to go through that whole entire credentialing process. and licensing for a whole nother basically career. What
Yeah.
led you down that path?
Yeah, and I stayed another unpaid internship as well,
Oh
just
my
as
gosh,
many
did you
hours.
really? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, by working full time.
Okay.
But in doing marriage and family, we had special requirements for that too. But yeah, so gosh, it's a great question. When I look back at my life, I've always been
Mhm.
interested in kind of psychology, personal growth. I went to a Catholic high school. I was a Kairos leader, which is like a spiritual leader within the school. I was a
Oh,
Kairos leader
okay.
twice. In college, I was a leader for some retreats there. And actually, psychology was going to be my minor, but
Okay.
I ended up just sticking with nutrition. So, but it's always been a big interest of mine personally. I got into it in high school. I remember my mom one time said to me, like, Tina, I don't know where you came from because no one in my family has really been into this as much as I have. But
Mhm.
very early on in my career, I noticed clients were coming in, they'd leave sessions very excited, like, yes, we're going to go, let's get our
Yeah.
goals done.
Mhm.
And then they'd come in and being like, I know what to do, I just couldn't do it. Right. Or I'd see a lot of women come in and say, like, I am a high achieving female. Like, I am VP of blah, blah, blah company. I
Yeah.
can perform in every area of my life. Like, why can't I get this? What is wrong with me? And so that really prompted me. I mean, I got my dietetics license in 2003, and by 2007, I was in my master's program. So it was a pretty big push that I felt very early on in my career, plus my personal passion woven in within that. So, and I picked marriage and family versus a traditional counseling route.
Okay. That's so
Mhm.
interesting. I love that. So, if your goal then was to help clients kind of bridge the gap, which is what it sounds like, right? Like,
Mhm.
clearly that patient type, if you will, that client type
Which
who
is
is
probably almost
very
100% of our clients,
okay.
right?
Yeah. They're,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what you're describing is someone that's extremely successful,
Mhm.
from, like probably in many other aspects of their lives, right? They're very successful, but they come and they're like, I don't know, like, what is wrong with me? I cannot seem to do this. So clearly there's a gap between knowing, right? The information, which we can all find on Google, let's be honest,
Or
right?
ChatGPT now.
Or ChatGPT.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, I love kind of digging into this because it is knowing does not mean doing.
Mhm.
It just doesn't. Because if it did, we as a nation wouldn't be where we are. Let's just call it for what it is.
Yeah,
Um, is it safe to assume that that was your goal to kind of help bridge that gap between knowing and doing?
it was. It was,
Okay.
but it
Let's
took a
start
long time. Yeah, it took a really long time to find the answers, to be honest.
there. Mhm.
So, very few people walk in our doors and go, "Oh my god, no one told me McDonald's not good for me." Like, no one told me I should walk. Like, every single person I've worked with, lower income, underserved populations, not just high achieving women. I think this affects us all. And even if we step outside health, what do we do with our finances? What do we do in our relationships? What do we do with our kids? Like, this is a prevalent concern that goes over many areas of our lives, right?
Mhm.
So, or even as a business person, and now, like Lesli, I was in her coaching. I knew what to do, but I needed a coach to nudge me along, right? So
Mhm.
we struggle this with in many areas, including our health. But getting the counseling degree did not necessarily give me the answers. So I didn't find the answers to almost a decade later, actually 11 years later to be exact.
Mm.
So I got skills, I got different ways to work with people, I had different ways to navigate in session. Obviously, being duly licensed, I can dig a little bit more. But it wasn't until so I'm a counselor, I
Mhm.
have a counselor, right? I
Okay, yeah,
own a business, I have a business coach. So we all need that support. So my
yeah.
own counselor, I think she got tired of me showing up and saying, okay, you're not doing anything I'm telling you to do, Tina. So she sent me to something called Landmark. And it wasn't until I was in my advanced Landmark course where it hit me like a ton of bricks that no matter how much we can't think ourselves into change. We can't feel ourselves into change. We can't have enough insight to get ourselves into change. And the only way to facilitate change And you're going to sit here and be like, I can't believe I'm joining this because this is so simple and stupid. But I promise you, it's the only way we facilitate change is to do something. We cannot effectively do any sort of change in our life unless we do something different.
Yeah.
So sometimes to bridge the gap between doing and or knowing and doing is simply to do. And
Okay.
you don't have to have insight. You don't have to have all this background about, oh, when I was in my family, this is how my family ate. And I need to dig all of that up in order for me to do something today. Right.
Oh,
And
okay.
when we look at something like the complexities of weight, right? We know genetics, microbiome, hormones, cortisol, estrogen, like there's 50 million reasons. But at the end of the day, what my client has to do today is the same.
Okay.
Right. And
Yep.
so what you see with your clients and what I'm going to encourage you to really dig around and find, because the goal of this is to have people be able to apply,
Yes.
is something that I call pseudo efforts. So
Say that
many,
again. Pseudo efforts.
yeah, pseudo
Okay.
efforts.
Pseudo
I'm going to
efforts.
trademark that, but pseudo efforts,
Pseudo
right?
efforts.
So your clients are going to be like, well, I got a bunch of Pinterest recipes pinned. I got a bunch, I went, like I had a client, she's like, I found the perfect lunch boxes on Amazon and I ordered my lunch boxes. And they make us feel like we're really doing something, right? Because we're researching, we're looking, we're on Amazon, you're on TikToks, you're on this, we're pinning. But at the end of the day, did you make something out of that recipes? Like, have you made it? Have you packed a lunch? Have you filled that big water bag? And a lot
Right.
of times they say no, or I did it once and then I'm not doing it again. So really the only way to facilitate change is to get people to apply behaviors and engage in a different behavior over time. And sometimes we just have to pull the trigger and get it done.
Okay.
So it
How
took
do
it took a long time, but
you
no, I did not find the answers in my coursework.
Oh gosh.
I found them in my personal life, is like so many of us do.
Well, honestly, it's just, wisdom, right? Just saying, I feel a lot wiser. I think it's just living and, getting that like wisdom over time in a lot of cases. But okay, so basically you're saying we need to take these pseudo efforts, right?
Mhm.
Is
Or
that
knowledge,
or,
or
or
thoughts, or
knowledge? Okay.
ideas, or
Okay.
insights. Mhm.
So how do we get people to do that? So
Yeah,
would that be the same as like a micro movement forward?
yeah.
Okay.
So where my practice excels and kind of how we market is people, and we're like the PCPs of nutrition, right? And health and
Yep.
wellness. We cover a broad range. Plus, I've worked with weight loss surgery for 18 years. So people who've really struggled and done all the things, including surgery. So, yes. So with pseudo efforts, the best thing we can do is help people consistently pull the trigger over time.
Okay.
Right? And it's actually stepping outside of our own head to get the thoughts to stop, to take the action. So I will tell my clients, and sometimes we'll be like, tell me what that voice in your head says. Like it says, I'm too tired, I'm fatigued, I don't have time, I can't do an hour. Why bother? Why not go? You know what? Oh, I forget to fill up my supplement container for my regimen. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. We all have this voice. And like I
Mhm.
said, it's not just about our health. We have these voices in our head all the time. They're going to talk us out of doing the thing, or procrastinate, or postpone. So it's
Okay.
learning how to take that voice. A lot of people expect that to be gone. It's never going to be gone.
Okay. The noise,
The
right?
noise,
The
right?
Okay.
The one that says you're not, I mean, if I pull from like one of my favorite quotes, you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough, right? The one that's always like naysaying, right?
Yeah, and so why bother,
Yeah, why
right?
bother? It didn't work before, so forget it, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to take that voice, putting it in the back seat, saying,
Yep.
thank you, I hear you, but I'm going to do it anyway. And maybe I'm not going to do it for an hour, but I'm going to do it for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Right. So I tell my clients things like, let's just run an experiment. For the next 5 days, try this, right? Like, don't think about it, just try it. I want you to get curious,
Okay.
So we kind of play some games with it to get them to execute, but really just focusing on like teaching them, like, no matter what your mind says, like, we got to just do something. Like, at the end of the day, just do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the perfect plan. You don't have to eat for your metabolic type. You don't have to have the perfect workout. Because
Right.
we get stuck on that, right? That perfection cycle and all the news media and the TikToks and you name it. People are so confused right now. But
Yes.
doing something is always 100% better than doing nothing.
Okay.
So yes, we're the little engine that could.
So do we, as practitioners and coaches, do we then make recommendations or sometimes tell what, like, okay, here's what I want you to do, or do we leave it in their court?
A little bit of both. I mean, it's
Okay.
collaborative,
Okay.
right? 'Cause
Gotcha. Yep.
what you'll see with clients is they're gonna pick the biggest, most audacious, hardest goal, right?
Okay.
And part of my job, at least in the profession that I have, right? Some are gonna be different, where you're running tests and food sensitivities, and you are gonna have to hit the ground running. But part of my job is to set my clients up for success, to break this cycle that nothing works and I can't do this.
Okay.
Okay, which means in order to get different results, we have to do something different. That's what I tell them. So, how I phrase it to my client is, one, I'll say, if you didn't see me today, what might be one thing you do to get the ball rolling? Right? Because they are going to tell you what their low hanging fruit is and what they're willing to do.
Okay.
Right? So you do want to draw answers for them. And like I had a gentleman this morning where I did an assessment, and I mean, his diet was atrocious. I could have picked 50 things we could have fixed,
Yeah.
right? But I said, if you didn't see me today, where would you start? And
Okay.
he was drinking 64 or more ounces of pop a day. And I was like, that would have been my number one. But he's like, yeah, not that pop thing. Like, I would start by not eating that muffin for breakfast. And I'm like, great. I need you to execute on modifying breakfast, right? We'll get to the other stuff later. Because it's more important that someone can pick a goal and
Mhm.
follow through, so that way they can get a win and feel
Okay.
what it's like to be successful and trust themselves again.
Okay. Okay. So it's very, there's definitely some overlap with this philosophy or this way in kind of that the coaching world, right?
Yeah.
Where do you mix? Trying to think of how I can pose this question. Like, do you find that people want to be told what to do?
Sometimes.
And do they kind of like push back a little? I don't know. I know in our heads, if we're told what to do, automatically like we put a wall up. But sometimes, so I guess maybe what I'm asking is like, how do you dance between your two, like nutrition, where we kind of are trying to tell people,
Mhm.
and your licensed counselor background, where I'm sensing that that's not the approach. Like it's not like, let me tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of manage those two in
Yeah.
some kind of opposing viewpoints in the
I don't see
session?
them as opposing at all. And I don't see this as a counselor skill at all. You could be a health coach, you could be a naturopath, you could be an MD, you could be a nurse, you could be a dietitian and navigate this, right? So one is you have to know your client.
Okay.
There are going to be some people who show up that just say, tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Right? So if that's your client, okay, I got menus for that, right? Like I'll tell you
All
exactly
right.
what to do.
So you can work
Right?
with that. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to know your client, right? Because we're here to serve and we want people to
Yes.
come back. Now, if I have someone who tells me, I've been at this for 20 years, I know how to follow a menu. I can count Weight Watchers points in my sleep. I know exactly what I'm doing, right? I
Yeah.
have, you name it. I do Blue Apron, dinner comes every night or whatever, Hello Fresh, whatever they're doing, right?
Yep.
And they're asking for very direct instructions. You can challenge that a little bit and kind of say, okay, well, in the past, it sounds like you've had menus, right? In the past, it sounds like you had a personal trainer who gave you great lunches. How did that work out? Right? And so you kind of navigate the conversation to like, what are these patterns that have kept them stuck for years, which doesn't require a counseling degree? We're not going into family history and trauma, right? We're just talking about food or health. And then you can say, well, if you've been trying that for 15 years and you've had menus and you have cookbooks and you have these things stashed away and they haven't worked, can we agree to try something different? And if we do try something different, what would that look like? And I promise you, I'll give you the menus in the future. I have more than you need. But what
Yes.
I'm hearing from you is you have plenty of resources. People have given you plenty of menus. I'm here to do something different.
I see.
And most people get on board.
Okay. I love that approach.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear. We have
You
so
have to know
many.
your client.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you do. And so So my take is, obviously it's very client centric. It's not like, okay, we're doing it this way. It's not this or that. It's just like, that's what makes you so skilled is you can, you're responding in the moment based on the client, which is amazing.
Yeah. And keep in mind, most people come to us because they're tired, they're frustrated,
Yeah.
it hasn't worked. Or if you're in a functional, and I'm trained in functional medicine, it's
Yeah.
just not the primary focus of my practice right now, but those people have been through the mill, right? They've
Oh,
tried all the things, they've tried the supplements, they've probably gone to 5 other practitioners before you. So you have to just meet your client where they're at and serve them versus serving, I got to check these boxes. I have to make sure I get reimbursement. I have to make sure I cover this education, right? Because they'll just be like, do, 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 and they'll shut off. You'll see it in their face. So
okay.
but looking for patterns is a great skill and tool to have. And sometimes it does take some, really creative questioning.
Okay. Guys, we have some really amazing practitioners. I recognize lots of names over on Instagram, especially. I can't see names on the other platforms. But anyway, feel free to ask questions. It would be a really good opportunity to comment or get your specific questions answered. All right. So sometimes we don't have a lot of time with just not enough time with our clients or patients, right? Kind of depending on the situation. Do you have any tips on helping us as practitioners to develop rapport really fast? Because
I love that question.
let's be honest,
Right.
it's rapport and trust.
Mhm, mhm. And that's what
So
keeps people coming back,
how
right?
do you do that? Yeah, it is. How do you
Mhm.
do that when you don't, you don't have like 3 hours to get to know their entire life history?
Right. And sometimes you can have, I think of like the Seinfeld episode where Kramer gets, the big highway and they're like, look at this, right? And sometimes we have that time where we can swerve and take our time and think. But like, for example, where I live, I'm in the suburbs of Chicago. It's very competitive. People can call around. And when I used to run a weight loss surgery office, sometimes all I had was a phone call to try and get them, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to be
What?
able to connect with people quickly. So whether your session's 5 minutes, 8 minutes, it's an MA checking someone in, or you have that hour to go through with someone, you have to know how to do this. And one is you have to understand what rapport is. So rapport, I had this great professor, and he said this. He said rapport is creating a climate that is ripe for confrontation. Okay. It's not a word
Mm,
we talk about a lot in health, but I'll repeat that again. It's creating a climate relationship that is ripe for confrontation. Okay. Now, the word confrontation, if you know me, my strengths finder says I'm a woo. I like people to like me. Okay. So when I say confrontation, like my stomach crawls up in my esophagus. I don't think of myself as someone who's
yeah.
really confronted, right?
Confrontational. Not at
Right,
all.
or we think it's like aggressive, or we think it's like hurtful to people, but that's not what confrontation is.
Okay. What is it?
It's being able to kind of hold the mirror up and have a difficult conversation. Like,
Okay.
hey, I'll just use you, Leslie.
Okay.
Like, hey, Leslie, I've noticed for the last 4 sessions, you've really been excited about this goal of, working out 4 days a week. But I'm finding we're just kind of picking the same goal over and over and over again.
Okay.
And we kind of really need to talk about what's going on, and if this is a goal that's right for you. So really confronting whatever the patient may be stuck with, any discrepancies, any lack of insight. And believe me, I work in weight loss surgery for a lot of years. I have to help people get insight when they don't want to have insight and all they want to do is blame a surgery for why things aren't working, right? These are difficult conversations.
Oh my
So
God.
how do we do that so we can have these difficult conversations where they can trust us? And some quick and easy things, right?
Yes.
The answer is language. So language and nonverbals are so important. If a client is using a word, you want to have your ear key into that word and use it too. Okay. Let me give you an example. If I say to a client, what are your goals? And the client says, I just want to have enough energy to make it through the day and go to bed at night, right? I'm not going to say back to that client, oh, so you want to be the Energizer Bunny, right? That doesn't convey that I understand what she's saying or he's
Mhm.
saying. Or if a client on the other end says, I want to feel like an Energizer Bunny, guess what I'm going to use? And be like, okay, let's get you to a place where you feel like an Energizer Bunny. And what does that mean and look like for you? So when we use our clients' words, or if our client says, I'm achy, I'm in pain, especially for us, so many of our clients feel disheartened within the medical system, right? You can align yourself with the words that client is using, being pushed around, feeling like, I get it. You feel like no one's listened to you. So that's a great way to create rapport, is to use their language, reflect it back. You can ask for people to define things. So if I asked everybody listening on this call, or even asked you, Leslie, what is health?
Mhm.
We're all going to have a different answer. I can't
Mhm.
assume that everybody who's in a healthcare profession has the same definition of health that I have.
Okay.
I'm going to get 500 answers, right? So asking clients, like, if you felt heard in a medical system, what would that look like to you? Because it's going to be different than, as a practitioner, how you feel heard in a medical system. So that's one way, is really keying into language, reflecting back the exact
Yeah.
words they use. Because remember, the brain has mirror neurons, right? So we
Okay.
have mirror neurons
Yeah.
that when we're in communication with
Wait,
other
did I hear
people,
you say mirror?
yeah, like mirror.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah.
never heard that. Has
Yeah,
anyone
mirror,
else never? I've never heard that. Okay.
we have mirror
That's so
neurons.
cool.
So other things you can do: slow your speech to their speech,
Okay.
raise your speech to their level of speech. Or if they're talking so fast, you have to slow the conversation down, to slow them down, right? If they're talking loud, talk loud back. You can, mirror their nonverbals. If they're not looking at directly in your eyes, don't stare them down until you gain their trust. So those are all, don't sit there with the computer. Like one of our providers for my family, he's just constantly on that computer the whole time. My kids just shut off, right? When we're in that appointment, don't do that. So, but language, and then mirroring back to them what they're showing to you, right?
Okay.
Through speech, through tone, through nonverbals, through eye contact. And they're going to align with you. And then the last thing is storytelling.
Okay.
If you've had clients with them, if you've had success stories, if you've, like, I work with a lot of truck drivers, or bus drivers, I'll tell them, like, or third shift workers, their life is different. Let them know you understand that and you've been through it with people. So
Okay.
it doesn't take long to use their language
Okay.
in this session. Mhm.
So, how do you do that on the phone? It
Well,
must
you
be
hear the words on the phone.
okay.
So I'll give you an example.
You're mirroring
Yeah.
what you're able to mirror on the phone in
Yeah,
terms of
there's a conversation that I use in one of my presentations I haven't talked about in a while, but there's a client that called me up. She's like, Tina, I've been trying everything for years, like nothing works. I just really want something different. And then, so when I talk back to her, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me nothing works. You've been trying this for years, right? So if
Mhm.
nothing works, when you started Weight Watchers, how long did you stick with it? And then she's like, oh, I only do it for 3 weeks. And you're like, okay, so if we did something for 3 weeks, can we really say nothing works? Like, you just want to keep using. And then she signed up like right away.
Wow.
So, and
Brilliant.
that's a phone call. That's a phone
I
call.
love that. Oh my gosh. And it's so some of us would just shy away from that. Like,
Mhm.
because we wouldn't know how to word that in a way that did not feel like kind of using that word
Right.
confrontational.
Well, and that was a mild confrontation, right? Saying like, okay, so if nothing works when you tried
Yes.
Weight Watchers, because I knew she probably wasn't on it for 3 years,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
How long were you on it? Well, I did the Weight Watchers for 3 weeks. I did this for a month and nothing worked. Okay. So can we really say nothing works? Right. So, and then she's like, oh, I guess not. Right. Like,
Uh,
so it's really more as a
brilliant.
practitioner, slowing down your brain
Yes.
to listen.
Okay. I love that.
Mhm.
You know, I, I just think it's really like if we could actually do that,
You can.
it's pointing out that discrepancy that where we're falling off the tracks in terms of logic,
Not
right?
even that, right? There might not be so many discrepancies, but as a practitioner, this is a practice.
Yeah,
It's a skill,
it is a skill.
right?
Gosh, I
I
want
didn't
more
learn
of
this in school, right? I'm 20, what am I, 20, 22, 23 years into my career, right? this is something as a practitioner, you choose to wake up and you practice in session. You practice on a
Okay.
phone call. You see how it works out, right? Just like we practice any other skill, like balancing finances if we have a private practice. Like most, you have to learn how to do that. This is a skill.
Okay.
And to hone in on this skill, you just got to slow down.
Okay.
But then you become so much more effective. Those sessions are like boom, boom, boom. You're like in flow state with your clients.
Okay. I don't know about the rest of you, but this is a huge light, I guess you'd call it a light bulb moment.
Mhm.
And it really like, okay, so I obviously don't work with nutrition clients anymore, but I do teach, as you well know, Tina, because you've been through my programs. I do teach my clients how to have a really amazing, what I call enrollment conversation, right? And part of what I teach is like if you get pushback, instead of just throwing up our hands and getting off the phone as fast as we can because we are so
Which is
uncomfortable.
what I do. You know, that's my sticking point, right? Money.
Well, and we were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, okay, thanks, bye. You know,
Yeah.
what I really encourage my clients and students is just to pause and not, again, I don't know if I'm using the word confront, like I don't want someone to feel combative, of course, and we're never, ever twisting arms. We are
No,
never, ever
no.
in a sales conversation. But if what someone is saying isn't lining up, like let's say for example, they tell you, oh my gosh, Tina, like it's a 10 out of 10. This is the most important thing.
Mhm.
And if I were able to change this, this, and this, and instead achieve this, this, and this,
Mhm.
like my life is going to change in all these amazing ways. And then at the end of the conversation, if they're like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah. So two things. One, you might not, I mean, confrontation, we're talking about a relationship that builds over time because we're talking
Right.
about retention strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the case you just described, and then I do want to go back to something else in your
Okay.
classes because I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, to be honest, Leslie. So, and I'll explain that in a minute.
Okay.
But in the case you just described, here's how we would use language, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say, right now, your pain and fatigue, like on a scale from, I use Likert scales a lot,
Okay.
right? 0, you're floating on cloud 9, you have all the energy in the world, you can get through your day, no aches, no pains, you're ready to run a marathon, right? 10, aches, pains, can't get out of bed, it's hard to move, you can't function on a daily basis. Where are you? Right? Client may say, I'm a 9, right? And then they don't want to sign up for you. Or you haven't gotten to the point to the sale yet. And you know, selling is my kryptonite, Leslie. We went through this. Like money just makes my stomach crawl up my esophagus again, right? Like I'm horrible having those conversations. But if you say, okay, if you're currently a 9, what would a 6 look like for you?
Mm.
So you have them describe what it would be like to move from a 9 to a 6, because you can't tell them what would a 1 look like because they can't even visualize a 1,
Okay.
right? Don't be like, if you had no pain, what would it be? Right? Because they
Okay.
might not even be able
Okay.
to see that. Because in order to get someone to engage with you, they have to see that something could be different,
Okay.
right? So if you're pitching something that's way too far out of the ballpark, they're not going to sign up. So
Okay.
let's say the client says a 6 for me would be, I wake up, I go to work, I'm able to prepare dinner, and then by 7 o'clock, I'm done. I'm going to relax. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to watch my shows. I might be in a little bit of pain, but I made it through the day. Right.
Mhm.
So when you go to do that close, or let's say they don't want to sign up, you can
Mhm.
say, okay, this is your skill. Can I call you in 48 hours
Mhm.
to see if this is a good fit so that at 7 o'clock at night,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what the client told us. At 7 o'clock at night, you can relax on the couch comfortably without being in pain that brings you to tears. So that's how you would do it.
Okay.
It's not a confrontation.
No.
No, but that is how you use their language.
Okay.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. So Likert scales are great, but don't bring them from a 10 to a 0, right? You want to bring them 10 to a 6, 10 to a
Gotcha.
7. Make it realistic, get them
Okay.
talking, and then use the language, right?
Okay.
So here's where you don't give yourself enough credit. Okay. You talk a lot about niching and branding.
Yeah.
I fell to pieces. So as much as I talk about language and use it, when it came to niching and branding for years, I'd quit every course I joined, right? Because I couldn't niche it. Like, how do you brand the PCP of dietitians, right? Because
Right.
we see everything. But you said, what are your clients saying? Listen to what they're saying in session. What words are they using?
Mhm.
What's your ideal client? Who's your average? This is exactly what you teach.
Yeah.
And you didn't know you were teaching it. Give yourself more credit, Leslie.
Okay, thank you. I
Keep it up.
needed that. Sometimes we all
Because I
need.
was able to niche for the first time in my life.
I know. I remember your
Yeah.
story was.
I found my words based on my
found
clients' words. Yes.
Yes, that's great. I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah, a lot of it is about, I mean, marketing. It really guess it doesn't matter, marketing or clinical skills. It's listening to what the words are that your clients are using and mirroring back. And of course, like I completely get that from a marketing standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And branding and all that. So it does make sense. And I do understand it from a coaching perspective as well.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a skill, that really was kind of drilled in.
And in
Post
language,
training.
tone, rate of speech.
Okay.
Those are
Rate
also very
speech
important.
too.
All
That's
the
super
nonverbals.
interesting. So that
Yeah.
maybe some of us just do that naturally.
Mhm.
I would imagine it's just kind of, a natural thing, but others of us probably
Yeah.
have to just pay more attention,
Right.
and just consciously work on that a little bit. And
Yeah. Like I'll
to
we'll just dive in. Like, if I'm being fully honest right now,
Mhm.
the amount of restraint I'm using to match your pace, because I'm a fast talker,
Uh-huh.
very high right now.
Interesting. Okay.
I remember when I was in college, because we used to have to tape ourselves in session,
Mhm.
or we
Okay.
would be in video live with people watching us. Like my colleagues, my professors, they'd watch
Uh-huh.
us live. And I remember I was playing a tape because I'm a well, one, I had untreated, undiagnosed ADHD for my whole
Okay.
life and didn't know it. But I'm fast, right? I think
Yeah.
fast, I move fast, I
Yeah, yeah.
talk fast. My professor played my tape and was like, slow down. Like, you're gonna give all your clients anxiety, you know? So once again, it's a skill you learn.
Okay. Yeah. That's
So, and your pace of speech is fine, but for me, it takes a lot of restraint to slow
so yeah.
down because I'd be
Yeah.
like, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah, yeah.
boom.
Like all over the
Even with
place.
my kids, like I did my own neuropsych, and it's like Tina's boisterous and exuberant, and I'm like, this is kryptonite for my family. Like, I'm the mom that's like, surprise, we're going somewhere after school, and my daughter would cry, right? But she'd be like, you can't surprise me and take me to the pumpkin patch. Even though like that's all I want to do is surprise people. So you do learn to you learn to match, and now I know that like exuberant part of me I take into other areas of my professional.
That's great though. I
It's
love
a
that.
skill. It's a skill. But like right now inside of me, I'm working very hard
Yeah.
to see my
Okay.
face to
Yeah.
match the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Mhm.
Okay. So clearly you're emphasizing the importance of language and mirroring
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. So why does a client's choice of words matter so much?
Yeah.
Any additional insight and
Yeah.
just in that whole area of their choice of words?
Mhm. Um, yes. So no one becomes a
Mhm.
therapist because they don't want to dig into someone's deep dark past. So we say that, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
So, and I'm not a trauma therapist, right? I'm like the coach of therapists.
Okay.
So when I was in school, one of the first things in classes I attended was theories. There's over 30 or 50 theories of psychology for how we work with people, how we view the world, how we view mental illness, how we view, that just blew my mind. Like, what do you mean? There's not Freud and cognitive behavioral therapy and that's it? There's so many different ways we view human nature and they're all scientifically validated. That's the wild thing is they're all scientifically validated. So we got to this section called post-constructionist, which has to do with language. And they were like, if you can get your clients to change your language, you are doing a great job. And I'm like, BS. That is BS. I didn't become a therapist to listen to someone's language. I'm becoming a therapist because I want to dig into their deep, dark past, right? Like
Yeah.
change can't happen just by changing. So when I was in class, I was very resistant to this theory. But when I'd go to work, because I was working full time in the clinics with my patients, over and over and again, this worked. Over and over again, narrative therapy, solution focused therapy. There's a bunch of different types of therapies in this post constructionist, but what they say is language has meaning. Okay, we are meaning making machines. There's what happens and there's the story about what happens.
Okay.
So if you listen to a client's language, there's no guesswork. They are literally telling you what's in their mind. So you don't have to sit there and be like, I wonder what happened in their past. Did their mom take their food and throw it in the garbage for them? Like, right? So they're handing you what I call like the golden nuggets on a golden platter for how to work with them in session. So going back to our example of like, what is health? Ask, if you were healthy, what would that look like? Because it's going to be different from your 1 o'clock patient compared to your 1:30 patient. So just ask. And if you can, going back to what we're saying, if people cannot talk about a different future for themselves, one where they're pain-free, one where they're feeling good, one where they can take, like one of my testimonials, my website, like a client finally was able to take vacation with her family because she had such diarrhea for so many years. She never thought she could like vacation with her grandkids. Oh, right. Like, what a goal. Right. And they planned a trip to Disney. Like her mind was blown. But when I met her, she couldn't even visualize that for her future. She couldn't go 2 feet without needing a bathroom, right? So if you can't get people to talk differently, they will never get a different result.
Okay.
Okay. So there's always what happened. And then there's the story we tell ourselves about what happened. And usually they don't match.
Okay.
But if you tease it out, and say like, let's look at the facts. Like, is that really what happened? Like, let's just break it down to the facts, right? Like we got to sometimes get people out of the stories in their head. And a lot of our clients, especially if they're really sick, it's a lot of doom and gloom. It's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of like, I'm not good enough. I can't get this. I can't do this. But in the middle of all their negativity and like, you might have a client where you're like, your goal last time I saw you was to work out 5 times. That client comes back, they worked out 2 out of the 5. They're going to come in and focus on the 3 they didn't do.
Oh, right.
My job is my job is get them to talk about the 2 they did do so we could do more of that.
Okay. Oh, that's a really great tip.
Right. So some of the underlying things are, 1, there's always exceptions. It's not all doom and gloom. There's always exceptions. We want to find those exceptions of when things are working and ask them to do more of it.
Okay.
Get them to change their language in session. But it's literally like they're handing you golden nuggets on a golden platter to work with.
Okay. Yeah. I know like in my coach training, I always heard like the negative thoughts and what we didn't do are like Velcro. Right. Yeah. We just kind of hang on to that. And who knows why, if it's some kind of, evolutionary thing, we don't want to get too happy and complacent because, things go awry really quick if we get complacent. Right.
Yep. And so even for myself, when I'm in a hard place, and I'm in a hard place right now with some things, one of the hardest times in my life, I have to remind myself, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me because it's so easy to go down that deep, dark black hole.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Okay. So when I was going through my mom dying, my dad having amputations, COVID, I had to remember like, it's all like something's working out for me. It's always working out for me because it's there.
So is that like using a mantra?
That's my personal one. Yeah.
Okay.
Or when I was pregnant and like I had these horrible Braxton Hicks contractions, right? Where I just felt like I was going to buckle over in pain. I would just remind myself, like, I'm not the first person who's been through this and I'm not the last and everybody makes it through. And I would hold on to that, So there's always good with the bad.
So in a session, okay. So you gave that example of the person, they set a goal, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, which is awesome. They end up doing 2 and they want to kind of fixate on what they didn't do.
Right. They're going to focus on all the ways they failed because that's what they've done in the past.
Okay. So can you just kind of reiterate how you're going to change that conversation to get them to do more of the 2, right? Or stick with the 2, can you help us drill that in a little bit deeper so that we can, I think that's a great skill that honestly we can all run with.
Yeah, they're going to show up with all their faults instead of what they're good at. So, a couple things. One thing I teach is the what went well today practice. It comes from positive
Oh,
psychology.
okay.
You can look it up. I could even send you a handout if people really want it. But I work on what went well, like sitting down and think of 3 things within the last 24 hours that you're proud of, happy about, whatever.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
But it could be as simple as, okay, I get it. You're disappointed. Your goal was 5, you hit 2, no problem. But 2 weeks ago when I met you, we were at 0. I want to hear how you got those 2 done. Like, what did it take? Those 2 days you were able to execute, tell me what it took.
Yes.
And they'd be like, "Oh, I had to, ask my wife to watch the kids so I could go take a walk outside." Or some of my clients, I'll tell them, "If your kids are in tutoring, if your kids are in soccer, you need to be out there walking your laps too. Like, don't sit in the car and scroll." Right? So be like, "Oh, so you actually got out of the car when your kid was at the tutoring and you got the walk in. Great. Can we do more of that next week? Like, if it worked this time, can it work again?"
Okay.
So you want to do more of what works.
Okay. I love that. Does that make sense to everybody? I just think that's a great thing. Like that is to me tangible. Like I can go do that next session.
Yeah, right. Immediately. Like give them their 2 minutes to be all doom and gloom, right? About everywhere they fell short, and then quickly, okay, great. Or else give me your 3 highs, your one thing you want to work on today.
Okay.
So it just depends on your client.
Okay. So what would you want new grads, new providers, what would you want them to know, especially as, many are probably considering private practice,
Oh God, that's a loaded question.
right? It's a big one. So any direction you want on this one.
Yeah. So what I would say is, looking back, when I was 23, almost 24, I would have punched myself in my face, to be honest. I've reflected on this question so many times, Leslie. So I remember like sitting there with this mom, it was when I worked at Lifetime Fitness. And like I literally had her do a schedule like a half hour by half hour. And I was like, "So you have 15 minutes right there. Like, can we just get your walk in 15 minutes right there? Like, we could just get it done, right?" But now that I've lived a life,
Yeah.
that I have a mortgage, that I have kids, that I've gone through both of my parents sick and dying, that I've gone through, being a regional director, not owning a private practice, that advice is totally ridiculous. You want to know what that 15 minutes means to me now, Leslie, right? So there is something to a live life. Like these things are not, you're going to read about them in a book about a sandwich generation client or about, like the Surgeon General in the fall just had a post that like parents right now are the most stressed out, unwell, unsupported generation of all time, right? This is real. This is real. So we can have this perfect plan and this perfect idea and what we read in the books, but people live life. And we have to learn how to help people navigate life.
Okay.
Right. So that is one thing. So there's something to
Yeah, no, I do get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was a great pediatric dietitian with like, Ellen Satters, who, what, when, where, but now I have kids. It's a different story.
Right.
But the other thing I would say is take time to be with people. I was so excited when I got my first clients. I'd write out a nutritionist with a 6-month plan. Week 1, we're talking about fiber. Week 2, we're talking about saturated fat. Week 3, we're talking about, omega-3s. And I had all my handouts.
Yes.
And I was so proud. And I was great at writing plans. I still write great notes, right? But then the client would come in and be like, "You told me to buy all these vegetables, and I threw half of them out. I'm not buying vegetables anymore." And I'd be like, "Oh, but we were supposed to talk about saturated fat today." So, yeah. So be willing to ditch your plans, because being in private practice, being an outpatient, it's not like writing a hospital plan, right? Where a lot of us train. People are going to be people, and you have to work with people. The third thing I would say is if a client does drop, if you market yourself and someone doesn't want to use your services, if a client is so frustrated with you, don't carry the load.
Okay.
So many practitioners get down on themselves. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with this? People are going to be people, right? Even when I talk to my clients, because I don't do therapy anymore, but I refer to a lot of therapists, I tell them, we're like Goldilocks and the 3 bears, right? You're not going to like every therapist you run into. Try 3 or 4, see who you click with.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're in private practice long enough, I'm shocked by the amount of people are like, it's been 2 years since I saw you. Life happened. I tried a couple things, but I'm ready to start again. So, but that's because I took the time to build the relationship where they're comfortable coming back.
Right. So what are some of your go-to strategies then to increase follow-up and retention?
Pretty much everything we talked about, but
Okay.
I will add to that. Never get off a call without scheduling another appointment.
Okay.
Ever.
Love that.
Ever. Like, okay, great. We're done for today. So I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. What day works best?
Okay.
You don't even give do you think you want to meet with me again? Right? There's no question in your mind this person's meeting with you again.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that exuberant, boisterous part is coming out.
That's all right. Let it happen. Let her rip. I love it.
But no, never get off an appointment. I'm virtual. So that's what I'm talking about, getting off. Never let a client leave your office without another appointment on hand. I like to write letters.
Okay.
So if I have a client that says, my mom passed away, my kid got into Notre Dame, I'll write congratulations to you and your family.
Okay.
Right? Drop a letter in the mail. People love that.
Gosh, nowadays.
Oh my gosh. And I do it with all my referring physicians too. I'm constantly letter writing.
Wow.
Your kid got married. Great. You're going to get a letter. We've been working together a year. Wonderful. You're going to get a letter. Right. So just let them know you care.
Okay. That's huge.
Huge.
Handwritten letter. Like, woo, that's impressive.
Yeah. So those are some
very meaningful.
Never finish an appointment without another one.
Okay. So I know we're really almost out of time, but do you have any tips you can share on difficult clients?
Oh,
Because you did mention how well, I really think this is true. Like if someone drops off or is negative or leaves a bad review, God forbid, like that's really challenging for us to deal with. I've seen that happen before. And I really think that sometimes of course we need to look at that. Of course, a lot of times it's not about us.
correct.
Right? It's really not. But what can you just help us kind of navigate through that? Because it really happens to almost everybody that I know of at one point or another. How do we deal with difficult patients and clients?
So you mentioned one thing, learning how not to take it personal. That's a skill.
Yeah.
Right. That's something we practice. Get your own therapist, get your own business coach, work on that. Right. Because that may come from our childhood and family fortune in high school in our past. Right. But learning how not to take it personal, knowing at the end of the day, I showed up to the best of my ability for this person.
Okay.
On that day, at that time, I showed up to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, I can put my head down and know I did a good job. Right. But one of the best places to start, I have 2 tips for this. One, you have to really address their expectations.
Yeah.
Very often, clients are going to have expectations that don't meet what's possible, right? They're seeing something online, or last time I did keto, I dropped 20 pounds in a week, right? Or last time this happened, or I was with this doctor. So, and especially for nutrition, I'm telling them, like, nutrition's not like a Tylenol. Like, you're not going to take it and your headache's going to go away. Like, this takes time, right? So, one, get them to, okay, so you're frustrated. What is it that you had hoped would happen? What is your timeline? What are we expecting? So we have to address expectations.
Okay.
Which is great for private practice and business owners, right? We have to have right expectations for ourselves and our growth and our practice too. So that's one thing.
Okay.
And one of my favorite quotes is like, expectation is the root of all suffering, right?
Oh.
Yes. I don't know if you ever heard it, but that's usually where we feel like we fall short.
Okay.
And it's usually because our expectations are wrong. And then number 2, with a difficult client, sometimes you have to navigate because remember, my goal is to not reinforce that they're not capable, they're not good enough, that they can't trust themselves, and we're going to repeat patterns of the past. That is never my goal. If I feel like no matter what we're doing, we're stuck in that cycle, we have a very good conversation about, is it time to take a break? And intentionally deciding to take a break is very different than quitting.
Okay.
So sometimes I do, like, they're beating themselves over the head. They're frustrated. They're mad. We're repeating cycles of the past. We can say, like, okay, There are times in life we press the gas, we press the brake, right? And sometimes we have to press the brake so we can press the gas harder in the future. Do we need to press the brake? Because I don't want you to continue to feel like we're spinning our wheels here. That's not the goal. That's not the goal. So can we agree to take a break? Right? And a lot of people say yes.
Okay.
And they will call back. Give them that. Great. I want to put you in 3 months. We're going to see you, right? Like give yourself a break for 3 months. So yes, it's very, very, very different than quitting, because quitting has a bunch of negative connotation to it, but intentionally and collaboratively deciding to take a break sometimes is in the best interest of that client.
Okay.
And your client practitioner relationship.
Yeah, I absolutely can see that. And we have a wonderful comment here. Thank you. Love the writing to celebrate patients' events. I think that's brilliant. And to, for our referral partners as well.
Oh, I will go over all of we're a physician referral practice.
Okay.
I do a lot of writing and thank yous.
Okay. So that's a huge takeaway. Just saying, I think that can really help. And it's just simple. It's an old-fashioned thing, right? I mean, we used to do these things.
It's a lost art.
In this digital space. I don't know. Something's happened.
Just knowing that someone cares about you enough to think about you in a time that you're not on a visit with them, to drop something in the mail.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge.
Highly, highly recommend. I think that's a great takeaway. And we have, Nutrition Counseling Academy. I love Tina and all the wisdom she is sharing. She's such a gem to our profession. Yay! I
love you, Joyce. Joyce, I have mutual respect for you, Joyce. I enjoy working with you.
I know. Yeah, Joyce is awesome too. And you guys together. Ooh.
Oh, we've been together. She reached out. We've done some work together.
Okay, I hope so, because wow, what a great combo. Okay, listen, I love this topic so much. I cannot believe it's already time. I could go on and on.
Same.
And based on our audience, clearly we've hit a chord, Tina. Clearly, because we have we've had, people stay for the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for that.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely.
Yeah. So everything we're talking about for our clients, use grace and give it to yourself. Okay. Every single skill and tool we have to apply as practitioners in every area of our life.
Okay.
So this is not just for clients.
Okay.
That was my closing, focusing on our wins as a business owner, being kind with ourselves, redirecting, like maybe I didn't hit that goal, but I had some growth. How did I get that growth? Right? Because we could be just as negative on ourselves. We can set ourselves up for the wrong expectations. These are not just health skills. These are life skills.
Yes.
And it's a decision. And even for me, I spiral backwards. We get up and we make the commitment to grow a little bit every day and get up and practice and try and try and try. So
yeah. And I do some mindset work in my coaching, and I always like to remind people, in a discussion, like really what we want to focus on is what is on your side of the street, right? Like a sales call, for example, it could have gone great. Like you think it's a slam dunk, right? Like, yay, and I'm so excited. And then they end up saying no, right? And then and I get it. It's disappointing. I'm personally, I'm not the type to put on my rose-colored glasses and just say, I'm kind of pragmatic in that way. And I think most of us are. But the thing that I would encourage my client in that situation is what went well in that conversation.
Right. The WWW.
And the fact that you had the conversation. Like you did all the things that were under, control's not the right word, on your side of the street.
You did your part. At the end of the day, you put down your head and you said, I did a good job. I gave my best effort. And that's all I can ask for. Yeah.
Right. Now, might we look back at that conversation and say, could have maybe done this or that, of course, but we want to really try to focus on what we did, that move the process forward.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So be good to yourselves. I hope I hope everyone has that takeaway. I just want to remind everyone before we take off, I want to remind everybody, I know this is kind of a long, it's not the best, but it's lesliebytel.com, leverage dash offer dash bootcamp, kind of a long URL, but it's free. I just want you guys to know, if you're looking to create leverage offers in your practice, I am doing a free bootcamp, and it's right after Fancy. So mark your calendars, head on over to that page. I think it's a clickable link in the chat. And just so you guys all know, we start October 15th. It is at 6 p.m. Central, and we're going to run it for 3 days. I love teaching this boot camp. It really is one of my favorite things in the whole world to talk about, other than, like, I do love coaching, and I love all this too. I guess I love it all. What can I say?
Yeah.
But anyway, bottom line, I hope to see you all there. Tina, I just cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Truly. I love this so much, and let's do it again. All right.
Same.
So willing, I know you're really busy. You got a lot going on, but man, this is just so valuable for our audience. And I hope you guys all got a ton of value. I got to be honest. Everyone here, if you could put a comment in and say one thing that you are going to take from this conversation, in your, to really up-level your counseling skills, I would love to hear what that one thing is. All right. So if you're willing to do that, I'd be really, really grateful. And I think Tina would be too.
Yeah.
All right. So just tell us that one thing that you want to do. All right, guys. Okay. So we are a little bit over. I'm going to let Tina get back to her day. And thank you so very much. I'll see you next week. All right, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.